So thank you very much for joining us, Talk Wrestling, here on Talk Sport 2 in the UK. I'm delighted to be joined by the man himself. I've been chasing him down since he returned to WWE. MVP. First of all, man, in these crazy times, how are you doing?
I'm MVP, so I'm doing exceptionally well.
Why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be? I
just wake up, I look in the mirror, I'm me, and the world is great.
Well, is the world going to be so great on Sunday? That's the question we need to ask ourselves, because MVP, a former great United States champion, currently holds a great United States title himself, will be taking on Apollo Crews with the belt on the line. First of all, man, how does it feel back, on a big WWE pay-per-view in these matches with these young guys? I'm imagining at one point you didn't think you'd be doing this anytime soon or if ever again.
I absolutely did not. I had all intentions of this being my final year. I had intended to retire. But I have a son who's 5, and he's a massive wrestling fan. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you he does picture-perfect moonsaults off the bed. So perfect that Rey Mysterio was, wow, I couldn't do that at 5. He likes to drop kick and suplex his pillows. And the Royal Rumble was in Houston, where I reside, and I reached out to WWE about being a surprise entry. And I did it just because I wanted my son to see Daddy. And that went so well that they asked me to come back the following night in San Antonio, and I was given an opportunity to wrestle Rey Mysterio. And again, that was for my son. So, Rey Mysterio is his favorite wrestler. So he got to see Daddy wrestle his favorite wrestler. And at that point, I was offered a position as a producer. And I was content to finish up my indie booking commitments and move behind the scenes. But I was asked to do a VIP lounge, and then another VIP lounge, and then a segment, and then a short match, and then another match. And before I knew it, I was asked if I could take on more of an on-screen role, and my producer duties became less and less. And now here we are, where I'm back in a weekly capacity, all because of my son. My son is either to thank or to blame for MVP being back on WWE. And it's wonderful because now, for me, my son gets to see Daddy every week, and we have a great time with it. So it means the world to me.
Well, number one, I was there in Houston for the Royal Rumble, and the reception you got, the surprise was awesome. I imagine, that must have meant the world to you to get that kind of reception. Number two, it's funny because I spoke to Rey Mysterio last year, and he says the same reason he's still wrestling as his son. Yeah,
but now him and his son in a completely different capacity, right?
Well, you don't want to put your son in the ring yet. Yeah. No, that's it.
So but that just goes to show the power of fatherhood, or just parenting, motherhood. I'm sure some of the women have daughters that they're role models too, that they enjoy performing for. But in the case of me and Ray, just the fact that our sons love what we do and love to watch us, and we can, we're role models whether we like it or not in our capacity as WWE talent. But when it comes to your children, that takes on a much more personal role, and it's important. And I'm very happy that my son is a WWE fan, and that, he brags to his friends, hey, Rey Mysterio is a friend of mine. I talked to him on the phone, And one of his cousins came recently and said, is it true? Does Camden really talk to Rey Mysterio? I said, yeah, it's his friend. They're buddies. And just the look on his cousin's face, oh, really? Yeah, he gave him a mask and everything. So I can't even express what kind of joy that gives me.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And speaking of joy, I feel like it's been so well received since you've returned to WWE. It seems like with every passing appearance, people just wanted a bit more of MVP, and possibly that's what led to WWE's decision, I guess. Just talk me through how that happened at that point, because I've spoken to superstars who return, and normally it kind of goes through Triple H, but was this a Vince McMahon call? What really drove them to say, look, we want you to be a full-time on-screen talent again?
Vince, initially Paul Heyman, And Paul Heyman asked me how I felt about it, and apparently, he was using me in roles, and Vince loved it, and Vince and I had a few conversations. So I am imagining that it was a combination of the chairman, because when I originally left the WWE 10 years ago, to pursue my dream of wrestling in Japan, I asked for my release, and Vince McMahon was kind enough to grant me my release. And he said, the door is open here when you choose to return. And true to his word, when I came back, it's been nothing but open arms, and it was a decision that was made by the chairman. And it's been a great experience. I didn't expect to be here at this point in my career, and the WWE universe has welcomed me with open arms. It's been awesome, the reception, the social media chatter. The locker room, the young talent in the locker room, they've been so welcoming, and it just feels really good all the way around.
But I think one thing that we have to notice, and everyone has kind of commented on, was the chemistry you had with Bobby Lashley off the bat. Immediately his feud with Drew McIntyre was well received, but it was taken more seriously with the addition of you. It seemed to breathe new life into Lashley following the Lana storyline. How pleased have you been with that? I presume that was perhaps a Paul Heyman driver, or was that something that you were looking to?
I'm sure that was a Paul Heyman issue. But Bobby and I are friends, and we have been friends for quite some time. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, many years ago when I first got called up, Bobby and I would ride together sometimes, and Bobby was the one that he bet me a steak dinner that I would be a future United States champion. So he was the first one to see that in me, and here we are, so many years later, and we still have that chemistry. And I guess that's why the chemistry works so well, because it's real. We're legitimately friends. We have similar points of view when it comes to our approach to pro wrestling and athleticism. And it's one of those things where, he doesn't necessarily have the gift of gab, and I do. He's a phenomenal physical specimen, and I do a good job of presenting that. So the division of labor works very well.
I think one thing that I've gotten excited about over the past couple of months, and I know a lot of fans have, is the idea of MVP having a stable, because it's kind of been teased. You've been wanting to maybe recruit other superstars, not successfully thus far, but, we've flirted with the idea of maybe an Apollo Crews or Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. Is that something that you would actually, just speaking from a creative standpoint and looking at the talent these guys have got, but maybe they don't always get the time they deserve, is that something that would really excite you to help bring them on a bit?
Absolutely, and it's something that I've been discussing, and we'll see how things go. Let's just say that there's a method to my madness. So I think everyone will be pleasantly surprised as I could watch me work. That's all. I'll leave it at that. Watch me work.
All right. That's enough for me to get excited, man. But you're talking about the roster too. Let's quickly do that. You've come back, and there's a lot of talent that you've never worked with or even probably met before, I'm going to imagine. We just mentioned some names there. Feel free to elaborate on them too. But who has really taken you, and who have you enjoyed getting to know and watching them work?
Man, I'm so pleased with the locker room. I've had a chance to see the SmackDown locker room, and of course my locker room on Raw. Everybody's been tremendously cool. I'm blown away by the Street Profits. Those guys are just phenomenal talents. The Viking Raiders, I finally got a chance to work with them a little while back in a tag match. And before I got a chance to work with them, I was just impressed by their work. Just phenomenal. And the Aleister Black is another guy who's impressed me a great deal, in the ring, out of the ring, and behind the scenes. There is no shortage of amazing talent on both the SmackDown and Raw rosters. And you got a performance center full of hungry people that want an opportunity to step up to the next level. So there's no shortage of people for me to work with.
Just a couple more then before I know I have to let you go. I want to circle back to Apollo Crews. So for a long time, people felt like he had all the talent in the world, but he wasn't either A, given the chances or able to flesh out his character. Being able to work with him, you know, since he's come into the United States title picture, you can see the growth, and does that excite you working with a talent like him? Like, talk to me a little bit about what you see in Apollo Crews and this Sunday.
Apollo Crews has a huge upside, and I think one of his biggest attributes is he's coachable. He's hungry. He wants to be a player. And he hasn't become so big for his britches, as the saying goes, that he can't take direction. And as you said, you can see the growth. And working with me, I told him a long time ago, I have a huge personality. And if you're standing in the ring with me and your personality doesn't shine, you will get completely blotted out by mine. Usually when I walk into a room, there's a wagon behind me to carry my ego. So I told Apollo he is going to have to reach inside and match that. And I think so far he's done a good job. And I want to see him continue to grow. However, we have an issue because as much as I want to see him be successful, I'm a two-time United States champion. I would like to be, no, let me rephrase that. I will be a three-time United States champion. And Apollo Crews will have to learn that lesson the hard way. I tried to mentor him. I wanted him to learn so he could have a legendary United States championship run, but he didn't want to listen. So sometimes life lessons are hard. If you're going to be dumb, you better be tough.
Tough love. It's got to be tough love sometimes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because you'll know Lashley and Apollo better than I. I've only interviewed them on a professional basis, but they have a lot of similar characteristics for my liking, like in terms of their personalities. They're very, very nice guys, very humble, you know, very willing to work. Would you say that's a fair assessment, that they both kind of have the same mold, that maybe they just need that bit of direction, I guess?
I think, well, other than the fact that Lashley is much, much larger than Apollo, I think also because Lashley has the amateur wrestling background and the MMA background, he has a killer instinct, a viciousness that Apollo hasn't tapped into yet. Apollo's an amazing competitor. His athleticism is phenomenal, like second to none. But that killer instinct is what's missing. Yes, they're both really nice guys. But you've seen Lashley when he's upset. And we haven't seen that from Apollo yet. And that's good for me. But if I can get Apollo to come around and see things from my perspective, then I'll teach him how to tap into that. And it won't be good for everyone else.
Well, MVP, I've been, so excited and really enjoying what you've been doing since you've returned to WWE. Very excited to see what you can prize out of a guy like Apollo Crews. What you guys are going to do with the United States title on the line this Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. So thank you for your time, man. Thank you for joining Talk Wrestling, and I hope we get to do this again soon.
I'll be around. I plan to be around for a while as U.S. champion. So let's talk again.
Yeah, man. Your son won't be happy if you don't bring the belt home.
I'll be in very big trouble if I come home without that championship title.
My man, thank you so much, MVP.
Look after yourself.